Hello, in this video, I'll be reviewing question 8.2.31-T, which on the fall 2021 statistics homework is number 11 on my lab. It reads, in a recent court case, it was found that during a period of 11 years, 855 people were selected for a grand jury duty and 36% of them were the same ethnicity. Among people eligible for grand jury duty, 78.7% were of this ethnicity. Use a 0.01 significance level to test the claim that the selection process is biased against allowing this ethnicity to sit on the grand jury. Identify the null hypothesis, alternative hypothesis, test statistic, p-value, conclusion, and null hypothesis, and the final conclusion that should address the original claim. Use the p-value method and the normal distribution as an approximation to the binomial distribution. Like in any hypothesis testing problem, we now need to state the claim and the null and alternative hypotheses. I'm going to reread the first two sentences. In a recent court case, it was found that during a period of 11 years, 855 people were selected for grand jury duty, and 36% of them were from the same ethnicity. Among the people eligible for grand jury duty, 78.7 were of this ethnicity. So it's saying while our whole population has a proportion of 78.7 of this ethnicity, the whole population of people eligible for this grand jury duty, only 36% of them were selected for grand jury duty. So what we're trying to find out here is the grand jury selection representative of the population, or is it less? Is there a bias against this particular ethnicity? So our claim is that the proportion is actually less than the 78.7. So we'll write that as a decimal form, 0.787. That's our claim. The null hypothesis always has an equal to sign, so it'll be that p equals 0.787. Remember, we're using p because we're talking about proportions. And the alternative hypothesis, you might see it as HA or H1. That is going to be the same as the claim because the claim does not include equality, so you can use the same symbol. So P is less than 0.787. And it's also worth noting here, because on a written assignment, we would note this next, that the alpha level we'll be using in this problem is 0.01. So let's look over at our answer choices. And we can see here that answer choice A has the null hypothesis as p equals 0.787, and the alternative hypothesis as p is less than 0.787, which is what we found. So the answer choice would be A. For the next part of this problem, we're going to find our test statistic Z. For proportions, we do a hypothesis test, and it is a 1 prop Z test. Now, for this test, we'll need to know our null and alternative hypothesis, yes, but we also need to know that N is 855 people, and 36% of them were from the same ethnicity. So we'll write that to the side. N equals 855, and X is going to be 36% of 855. Well, that is 0.36 times 855, and we'll calculate that. We get 307.8, which will round up to 308, because if we're talking about people, right? People are discrete matter. You can't have 307.8 of a person. So we're going to round here, and you can round to the nearest integer, which is 308. Now we're going to use our graphing calculator. So now you can, on your graphing calculator, press Stat, scroll over to Tests, and we're going to do one prop z test, which is option 5 on my calculator. The p-value we're going to use is 0.787. We just calculated x as 308. And the given n value is 855. Where it says prop here for proportion, we're always using the same symbol that we see in our alternative hypothesis, which is less than. And you can press calculate or draw, whichever you prefer. If this is a written document that you're turning in, you're going to make sure that you draw a picture, though, in your on your paper. We can see our calculated test statistic is z equals negative 30.48 when rounded to 2 decimal places, and our p-value is 0. You can see I've drawn a diagram to go with our problem. It's a left tail test. A negative 30.48 is so small that the area to the left of it is so small it rounds to 0. We're going to be comparing this area with our alpha value of 0.05. You can see I've drawn in our alpha value, and the shaded region fits within the alpha value. Doing our comparison, we always write alpha on the right and p-value on the left. So we have here 0 on the left and 0.05 on the right. And 0.05 is obviously greater than 0. And if p is low, null must go. So we're going to reject our null hypothesis. Let's now take a look at our answer choices. You can see here that we are going to reject the null hypothesis because the p-value is less than or equal to our significance level alpha, as I just demonstrated for you above. Now, does the jury selection appear to be fair? Looking at the bottom here. Follow the flowchart in your notes, noting that the claim does not include equality, and we did reject the null hypothesis. And you should come up with the answer of, there is sufficient evidence to support the claim that the selection process is biased against allowing the ethnicity to sit on the grand jury. The jury selection process appears to be unfair. I hope you found this tutorial helpful. Please reach out if you have any other questions at all.